Yo, 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 Neanderthal Podcast with your host, me, Ryan Westa, and today we have a special Halloween. We have a Halloween edition, guys, that I was supposed to drop on Saturday for Halloween, but I guess I could lie to you guys and tell you that something happened, that something happened with the internet or my computer, but No, nothing happened. I just procrastinated and, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We go through ups and downs in this journey of life, not to get too whatever. I'm in a valley right now instead of a peak, but that's all right. I still getting this podcast up. It's still a Halloween special because you know what? If I would have dropped it on Saturday, nobody's listening to it on Halloween anyways. You guys are doing other things. You guys are out getting Twixes and Twizzlers and Twinkies and whatever and taking your kids out. You're not listening to this podcast. You're not watching it. But if you want to watch it and see something scary, go to the YouTube version, YouTube Neanderthal Podcast, and see my crazy hair for this episode. And, okay, let's get into this episode. You guys are like, shut up, Ryan. We just go to the episode. We came here for the ghosts and alien talk. We got some good paranormal talk. All right, this was, I really like these guys. I really like having them on, and they told some really good stories. Larry, you guys will get into it. Larry's a big softy. He's afraid of his own shadow, and they had told a wonderful story of them. I'm not going to ruin it. Tune in. The Halloween special. This was good. This was a lot of fun. You guys are really going to enjoy this one. And without any further ado, we're doing the Halloween special 2020. Boom, Sherlock, boom.
Welcome to the Inner Talk Podcast. We'll no topic is off limits. Now here's your host, my daddy, and Void of Soul. Thank you for coming to the Inner Talk Podcast. Boom, Sherlock, boom.
In 3, 2, 1. Boom, Sherlock, boom. I got Larry and Jason. Jason's returning. Larry's making his first appearance on the show. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for wanting to come back on and doing this again. I had a blast our first episode.
Yeah, we went like 2 hours and we weren't done talking.
We just started.
Ended.
Yeah. That's how it goes. So, but yeah, I was appreciative of you hitting me up and saying, hey, are you interested in doing a Halloween show? So here we are. Happy Halloween. We probably should have dressed up. I thought about it.
I got my favorite shirt. It says, I hate people.
Yeah.
That's true more than ever right now.
Yeah. So last time we were talking a lot about ghost hunting and stuff. And then after that episode, I have a lot of guests on, and they promised me to do things. Oh, I'll do this with you.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll do this. And a lot of times,
I remember you mentioning that.
A lot of times, I'll never hear from them again.
Well, I pulled through.
You pulled through, man. You guys
Yeah.
took me to Vale Mansion, a
Yeah.
haunted mansion, and I talked about it with Shannon and Elijah.
Yeah. Well, it was because of them that I got to get you in there.
Okay.
So,
yeah. And that was quite the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and we hadn't had a chance to talk about it. We kind of, like, all kinds of shit happened.
Yeah,
And we hadn't
you
had
had
it.
life hit you pretty hard
Yeah.
for a minute, so.
But, so, have you talked about it? I haven't heard all of your episodes since then. Have you talked about it on the show yet? Your
A little bit.
experiences? Yeah.
A little bit. I talked a little bit about it with Shannon and Elijah, and then I did talk about it. I couldn't tell you who. A lot of conversations, I have so many of them.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I'm like, wait, I had this conversation, but what is it? Who was it with? But yeah, I did talk about it and talked about how badly I want it to be real.
Yeah, I mean,
But I
so
didn't
the
have-
activity we had that night, it wasn't like crazy activity like if especially somebody that doesn't go and do it a lot would hopefully expect. Like we didn't. I don't think we saw any like apparitions or
No.
we heard a couple things that were weird to us. That session that we did with the whatever they called it, where we're blindfolded and just talking. Estes, but maybe it is that. Yeah. To us, it was a little odd because we had never done that before. that particular type of.
Oh, that was new
interaction.
for you guys?
It was
Yeah,
new
it was
for us,
Everything's
too.
kind of new for you, aren't you? You're fairly new, right, Larry?
No.
No, I've been,
okay.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
My bad.
That was the first time I'd ever done it.
Okay.
It was interesting because I know how that box works, or that device works, and I know how loud it was in that person's head, so they definitely couldn't hear what we were saying. But when I think back to it, I think we were talking to it, not it talking to us.
Right.
That's how I viewed it. It wasn't responding to us. We were responding to it. So I don't know what to think about that.
I wasn't
but
convinced.
The place was great. It was amazing.
It was a very cool place. There was a few times, I've mentioned a couple times, that, and I don't know what to attribute this to, other than it was an experience that I had. A couple times where like just certain spots on me would have like goosebumps, but not regular goosebumps like you get.
Yeah.
They're just it's slightly different. Like the hair sticks up and you get goosebumps, but it is a slight different feeling, and it seems very localized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, a lot of times you get like your whole arm will just get a goosebump or something, but this was just like a little patch of it.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was like,
strange.
what,
Did it feel almost like cobwebs or something? were
No,
touching?
just like,
No?
I don't know, it just really like goosebumps, but slightly different, but like in that same family.
Mhm.
It was, but yeah, I don't know what to attribute that to, but
Well, I remember we had a lot of noise.
it was
and
4th
stuff.
of July.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
So-
coming from that back stairwell, I remember there being a lot of noise, like sounding like people walking up and down the stairs.
Okay.
There was
service.
shadows we saw, at least that I saw, back towards that stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
I remember now that the whole thing kind of focused on that back stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation it seemed to be having, and I did see some shadows in there, but I don't know if you did. And I don't know if Larry
I
did.
didn't see.
I didn't see anything.
I like I say I came in with a fairly open mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I want things to be real. I want
Yeah.
to see that. Like I said, I wanted to see the dude in the basement,
Yeah.
and just because it was so like that's like Ghostbusters esque.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if something's really real like that, like please let me see it. But I would definitely like to keep trying. Like I would be interested in doing something like that and trying to. I don't know. I tell you, I don't know if you listened to my episode with the Apex.
I haven't. I was
Okay.
actually
I haven't
going
either.
to, but I hadn't gotten to it yet.
Okay.
I do plan on it.
Okay. They talked about Sally House,
Yeah.
and that intrigues the heck out of me.
I actually have a friend in Atchison that's actively trying to get me in there. I mean, groups can go in there. There's a fee. I don't know how much it is these days. I'd rather not pay the fee if I don't
Yeah.
have to. So I'm trying to get in there.
Okay.
I've heard
You've
many
never
different-
experienced? Have you experienced?
I've never been in Sally House.
Okay, Larry
He
hasn't.
has.
You have?
I've been in there once, but I didn't
Nothing.
feel it. It's a
there's a-
small place.
I mean, it's like any other place like that in that there's so many people go in there. There's so many different stories from it.
Mhm.
And the historical stuff like that they say the stories come from, a lot of them have been disproven. But
Right.
there's a lot of activity that doesn't associate with that from people. I don't know. I've never been in there, so I can't really say. I do know that I've been told things about one of the previous owners faking something, but it was just a minor thing. But that just goes to their mindset. They were caught faking something by a friend of mine on video,
Okay.
and that was several years ago. And they don't own it anymore. I don't know how associated they are with it, but yeah, I mean, I'm interested in it. Interested in going there because of it's like might as well do it once. But places like that never really interested me in the past. I'd
What
rather
do you
go
mean
to
by
some
places
place
like that? Like what?
with that kind of reputation.
Okay.
I don't
Evil?
know. Well, no, not evil. That
Just well known.
well known.
Yeah.
Everybody did it. Everybody does it.
Okay, it's
And-
touristy.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Up until a couple years ago, when I was super actively investigating, which was actually like 8 years ago, when I was investigating every weekend at a place, and with him as well for a good part of it, I never had to pay for a place. Not that I was above it. I was just so busy going to all these places that I didn't have time to spend my money to go to a place.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did. And then now I'm fine with it if the price is right, and I think it would be a good experience. I don't know if I'd do it again. I guess that all depends on the activity in there.
Sure.
I'm not trying to dissuade people from going to the Sally House. It's got a reputation for a reason, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I've known other people that were tour guides there that have experienced crazy stuff in there. So yeah, like I guess what I'm saying is I'd love to go, but that's the reason why I hadn't ever gone.
Yeah. Just talking to the Apex guys, they really sold it. Like,
Yeah.
they freak out. They're freaked out. I don't know if you've discussed it with them at all.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But they're freaked out about it.
Mhm.
Like, they don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Like, and then when they do go back, they're like, why did we do this? We're never coming back again. Like, it's straight up like they feel like it's evil. Like, a lot of times when you guys are doing these ghost investigations, like
Yeah.
at a Vale Mansion type thing, those are separate than what the Sally House entity seems to be in their mind.
Yeah. I can't speak to their mindset. So I had a friend of mine that was a tour guide there for a while, and there's this crack or hole in the basement wall that is supposed to be like a portal.
Okay.
People think it's a portal. He had thrown holy water in there, and for months, groups went in there, didn't have any activity. And he didn't put out there that he had done that.
He just did it.
So whether it was something evil or maybe holy water does something, or maybe it was even the intention of him changing the environment in the house. But before that, it was super active. And for a while, like months, teams that went in there didn't have any activity. They didn't know he did that. So to me, that says that there had been something there and probably has come back. I don't know.
Holy water maybe runs out of its
Maybe.
luster after a while. Kind of gets like expired.
I have no idea.
Once it evaporates, there's
Maybe
something.
he didn't, like, he wasn't a priest or anything. Maybe he
Oh.
didn't do it to completion, you know?
He needs to have an actual priest to bless it, and it's legit.
Who knows? It's all theoretical, but
Right.
I thought that was very interesting.
It's interesting.
I mean, it could be too that the stuff that's happening now since that happened is new,
It's different.
is different,
Mhm.
not the things that were there before. I mean, no one knows.
Just
I don't know
'cause
how long ago that was. That was at least 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm sure the activity's back to normal. I don't know
Back to
if they're
it's-
I don't know if they're actively doing investigations there at the moment, because they just changed the person that runs their tourism board a few months ago, and they haven't, as far as my friend that lives there now knows, they don't have anybody running that side. So I don't know, but it's also a small place. So if you go with Apex, you probably wouldn't want to bring like us along, because it would be too
It's a
many
really
people
small
in one
place,
house.
huh? Okay.
That's what I heard. So
Yeah, it's intriguing the way they talked about it. Like, they sold it to me, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
well, in any place, even the most haunted place out there, air quotes, has its off nights, have its bad, who knows what it is we're really doing, and who knows what activates it. And it used to be in the past we'd have several investigations where we would have nothing. My life personally has kind of picked up in activity lately, and I'm actually reinvigorated and restarting some paranormal stuff in my life that because of that. But for a long time there were several investigations where nothing happens, and that's fine. I'm fine with nothing happening, because if things happened all the time, then it wouldn't be what it is in my mind.
What's going on lately? What do you got? What do you mean by activities picked up a little bit?
We'll get into the desert stuff in a few minutes. Some of that stuff kind of crosses over the UFO stuff.
Okay.
But I've been seeing a lot more shadows.
Okay.
For the last 6 months. Actually, the last year it's really picked up, but the last 6 months it's really intensified, especially since the last time we've been together. And I'm not saying it has anything to do with you,
Right.
but it just this summer, I'm seeing lights and shadows all the time, like daily in my house and where I go. I don't know what it is or why it's happening, but And every investigation I've been on in the last month and a half has been like I've been seeing a lot of that in the investigations as well. So have other people that have gone with me.
Do you think it's a you thing, or is it just a right now, everybody kind of like, is it across the board you think picked up? Is it like maybe something going on?
I would like to think that, because I don't want to think that something in me is making it. Part of me wants that, but the other part of me is like, am I really ready for that? Do I really want that? And I've had that idea for a long time now.
What if it's personal?
Yeah, if it's personal. I've had several psychics, including trusted friends of mine over the years, say that if I let myself, if I hone myself, that I could be a very powerful psychic, whatever that means. And I've never felt that I wanted that. They also said that I don't know, or they don't know if I have a choice one day. However that works.
It just picks you.
However that works. And I don't claim to be psychic, but I do seem to be picking up more perspective, perception. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to, it's not scary because I've been in this field for so long. I would see how it would be scary to somebody who had no experience in this kind of thing. This all of a sudden and I don't know if it works that way for most people, because I've had lots of things throughout my life that were in this vein, but not really the same thing. Larry, you hearing something?
Music from a car or something.
No. Oh, you hear it too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. I just know that I'm seeing a lot more shit lately.
Okay. And you like it or no? You said it's reinvigorated you? Was that good?
Yeah. I'm fine with it. I've also been, I think I mentioned this on the last show, I've been really lucky over the years, because they say once you go start looking for it, it starts looking for you. And they say that in this field, that if the longer you do it, the more likely you are to come across something bad, and they start seeking you out.
What's bad?
Like
evil?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on where do you stand with certain entities? You believe that some are evil and then some are just...
Well, I told you that story about that thing that came to my house that night.
Yeah.
Or I think may have came to that house that night.
They were talking about a similar thing from Sally House, like like rode with them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't like to put labels on things.
But clearly there's
Evil,
a difference. Like, is there a difference between...
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say it's all experience and perspective. I think it's very rare that somebody could physically get hurt from something like this, but absolutely people get like mentally damaged from stuff like this. Not like this that I mean, but bad things in the field.
Like what? Like what would...
Like possession and...
Well, okay. Whoa.
A friend of my podcast co-host, he got kind of his start in this field when he went out in college to investigate, and somebody that was with them got possessed for a week. He did a whole documentary and book about it.
Really?
It's
what do you attribute? Like what? It's so I don't know.
I'm not going to do it justice, but I'll give you the broad strokes of what happened to him. They were, he went to the University of Northwest Missouri State University, and I think it's St. Mary or Maryville.
Okay.
Up north of KC, and he one day decided with some buddies to go out and check out this chapel that was abandoned that had a cemetery attached to it. I think it was Workman's Chapel.
Yeah.
And they were investigating it, as college kids do. And this girl was out there with them. She was kind of crouched down, looking into, like, there was a little, like, concrete patio out in front, or patio, but like a little block out in front of the entrance of the church. It had no windows, no doors. It was all gone. It was one big room. And she was crouched down looking in there, and other guys were kind of just standing around behind her, and it got super black inside, like they couldn't see through it anymore. And she flew back off of the concrete thing, and she was freaking out. And they grabbed her up, they got in the car, and they left. And she went to her room and didn't get out of bed for a week. And she looked sick. They were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. The week later, they finally grabbed her up, took her back, and she had some kind of weird reaction. She didn't remember the entire week.
Whoa.
And then in subsequent investigation, somebody that was standing inside of it got ripped out of one of the open windows.
What?
That they caught on film. And
they caught it on film?
Well, they caught at least, I've heard the audio. And they were filming at the time. I don't know if, honestly, it's been so many years, and I don't know if you see him fly out, but they definitely have, he was holding a recorder in his hand, and you hear him ripped out of the window.
Did he live?
Yeah. I've been there a few times, but it's technically private property, and you have to have, and I think they're really close to tearing it down because he's put out a documentary and a book about it, 2 documentaries and a book about it, and
people want to go out there.
And it was already in bad shape, so I'm sure it's even worse now. It's been probably 6 or 7 years since I've been out there.
Do you think a place like that, the chapel, if they just tear it down and just demolish it, would that still be like a hot spot, that area? Or do you think once like that structure's down, the portal or the action, the activity there, if you will, just kind of would cease?
I mean, it's hard for me because my stance on anything's possible.
Right.
But I could definitely talk about theory. There supposedly was also a witch that was hung there. That's kind of a story that's told about a lot of places. But
yeah. A witch, huh?
I remember a story that I read from one of the first books that Jason and Grant from Ghost Hunters put out, like a long time ago when their show first started. They put out a book of cases before they started the show, and they helped a guy out that ended up he tore down his house piece by piece, and it wasn't until every single piece was removed from the location, and then the house was completely rebuilt with new materials that the whatever it was gone.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that answers that, right?
It was something that would walk down the stairs and like do something with the door and then walk back up, and even removing the stairs, removing all the interior stuff and putting in all this new stuff, moving the stairs to a different spot, the thing would still do it. Same spot, same sound, same thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. I guess the guy had a lot of money to do that. I'd just move.
Yeah, no, he must have loved that property he was on.
Yeah.
Must have been special, so we just sell that thing. Sell that ghost to somebody else. So it seems like we have a lot of haunted areas within, reasonable distance from Kansas City. Are there just haunted places all over, everywhere? Yeah. And then is this investigation thing, is this like more of a North American thing, or do you hear about this?
Europe,
okay, I'm sure they do.
Especially like UK. Mm-hmm. It probably teams. There's teams that have been organized going back to the 50s and 60s, and before that, it was all seances and all that metaphysical stuff, spiritualism and whatnot. But like kind of what we do, if you could put it in a like ghost hunting kind of term, there's teams that have been doing it since the 60s. The guy that I did the Kansas City Paranormal Conference, he'd been doing it that long. But the UK, they are crazy about it.
Yeah?
And they're also
Really?
they're very, I can't think of the right word. They're
enthusiastic.
But in a kind of a overly confident, like, they're very territorial, very protective. I talked a little bit about the drama between teams before and how, that's 10 times over there.
Oh, okay.
And because they have a lot older stuff than us and places.
Well, that's
but,
what I was thinking. Like, they must have some really old ghosts.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just such an old country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they're pretty crazy about it in the sense of I don't know how to put it. I can't think of the right word. It's more hysterical is not the right word. They're just there are teams over there that they think they're better than everybody else, and that's how almost all the teams are over there. So they all fight each other, and they kind of make fun of the United States teams because we're not like them. In a way, that's what I've seen.
Territorial,
anyways.
Egocentric.
egocentric.
Stuff like that.
Okay, but they're still. Huh.
They're egomaniacal for sure. Yeah, but I mean, I'd love to go over there and investigate sometime.
Yeah, is there any like historical sites anywhere in the world that you two would like love? Like, I got it's on my bucket list. I'd love to go to Egypt or something, or
The catacombs in Paris.
Okay.
Get
that'd
full
be pretty
reign
cool.
and just let us do whatever we want down there.
Okay.
We could do that.
Well, illegally, yes.
Well, I mean, maybe the parts that are part of the museum, but there are urban explorers that go over there all the time and
Safely as well.
Yeah, safe is the other thing. I think Angkor Wat's pretty cool.
Okay.
Or any of the South American village, like they were just villages for them, and temples and whatnot. But I think any of those places would be pretty cool.
Those places have got to have activity, right?
I think that most of those were built for that, and not necessarily just for ghosts, for spiritual reasons.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that where the Island of the Dolls is down in South America?
I think so.
Yeah.
That would be kind of crazy too. Those dolls don't generally scare me, but if one was moving around, that would be pretty freaky. Yeah. So we've been going out doing UFO hunting lately.
Yeah, I was very curious about that. Yeah, I got thoughts on all that stuff. You know what's cool? I just saw Mars last night. I don't know if it's out there tonight. I'm sure it is.
It's actually been up for a while.
But I was just hanging out my front yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, that looks like Mars. Let me check." Yeah, sure enough, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so UFO hunting, if you
UFO
will.
hunting. So we started. Actually, I started a couple before I was on last time. I started early 2020 before the pandemic.
Getting
Just
into UFO.
driving out.
looking?
Well, I've always been into UFOs. Like that was my first thing because I saw one when I was 7. But it's hard. UFO hunting is generally finding a place to just sit and look at the sky.
Yeah.
That's all you really can do. I mean,
Which is a beautiful, wonderful thing. I
Oh,
love
that's awesome.
like when you go out
Yeah.
when there's no light pollution.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love. It's one of my favorite
it's
things.
great.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like, especially before when I had an active team and we were going and investigating all this stuff. You go to a place that's supposedly haunted and you spend time in there. Well, the places that are hot spots for UFOs are a little bit farther away and sometimes harder to get to. When you never like, what is a UFO hotspot really? If it was a UFO hotspot, people would see them there all the time. So when do you go? All that kind of stuff. So that's why we never really did it before that much. But I just decided, fuck it, we'll go start driving out to places. And I drug him along and some other people along, and we've been picking nights where the moon's not up or there's a new moon. Let's go drive out to. I'll find a place on my light pollution map that's supposed to be low to zero light pollution, and go drive out there and sit out there for a night. And
I didn't know there was an app for that. I got to check that out. Does it change? Do locations change all the time, or some places?
I
Like Wednesday night, this place has the least amount of light
I haven't
pollution.
seen that change. It's not necessarily an app; it's a website.
Okay.
And I don't know how. Like, I haven't looked into how they judge it. I think it's just how close you are to city.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much in everything east of us, there's no real dead spots. There are there's spots where there's less light pollution, but there's no real dead spots like there is west of us. The first time we went, we just randomly went to this old park that we found while driving around one night months before, and What did we see that night? They kind of all run together for me, but I know they run. I don't know why I'm asking you. They all run together for you.
We saw the UFO that kind of like stopped and then disappeared was the first night.
Yeah. And so we say UFO.
First night you guys saw something.
Well, so we say UFO. So up until the desert last month, what we see and what's a UFO to us isn't necessarily like super impressive. And it's people outside the field. It's not like a saucer in the sky
Right.
or whatever like that. Generally, what we've seen, they look like satellites, but they're doing things that satellites that we know of shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's the Space Force, but I mean, to us, it's a UFO. So,
Right.
you know, and they have apps that you can track the satellites in the sky, and you know,
who
military
runs those
ones aren't
apps?
going to be on there, of course. And we have the flight radar apps and whatnot. So,
Do you have all this stuff going at the same
if
time?
we see something, I'll try and pull it up.
Yeah.
But actually, we didn't have those apps the first few times
No.
we went. So the first time we went, we just saw a what looked like a satellite, and it just stopped.
Yeah.
Right, and
Just
it just kind of
stopped.
disappeared. The second time we went up to.
No, we went down south.
Oh yeah,
remember?
we went down south to Virgil, Kansas, which is near Yates Center. And we just kind of went out into a farmer's field. There was a road. We went through it, so we weren't trespassing. We just stopped. It's kind of chilly. And I think this may have been before. It wasn't. No, it wasn't
No,
chilly.
it was after.
It was after.
Yeah.
There was 4 of us. And we set up lawn chairs, and we just kind of stared at the sky for the night. And we were down there for a few hours. And the big thing that kind of happened that night is there were what looked like 5 satellites all traveling in a pattern from the southeast to the northwest. And, you know, it's quite impressive getting out there because you can see the whole Milky Way and everything. And, but yeah, these 5 satellites were kind of traveling together and they weren't in any like pattern, like they didn't look like a star or anything like that or a pyramid. They were just kind of moving through the sky together. And then one of them flashed.
Lit up the whole sky.
But just in
one
that
of
area,
them.
not the whole
Right,
sky.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like it was like the light seemed to be pointed at us.
No way.
Almost
And
like
I
a laser
mean-
pointer.
Whoa.
I don't know what I mean, I know somewhat general information about satellites. I'm sure there's reflective panels on there. Maybe the sun hit it in the right way, but that's not the only thing that happened with this group. So there was that flash of light that kind of like seemed to be pointed towards us through the atmosphere. And then 3 of the satellites stop and the other 2 just keep going. And we didn't see them move again. And then 30 seconds after they stopped, there's a shadow person standing next to Larry.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it
And
scared the
he
shit out of me.
stands up and reacts, and I see a shadow on the other side of his car because we were sitting on one side of his car. The car was kind of parked off like 10 yards in front of us. I saw a shadow move away on the other side of the car right after that. So we had all that happen within like 90 seconds.
What are they
Yeah.
doing? Are they just messing with you?
I don't know.
They pointed you out like they knew your guys' intention. I mean, there's people all over. There's probably high school kids a couple miles away in a field
Probably.
getting
Yeah.
drunk.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I
they
don't
knew
know.
your guys' intention was looking out there, and they spotted you, like, and then
You know,
boom, showed up. Hey, guys, we're gonna mess with you for a minute, or
Like who really? I mean, people do. I know that people go, even like people out. They sit on their porch and they watch the sky. But I don't. A lot of people do it these days, as far as I know. Go and do that sort of thing. So maybe they just don't care. Like I don't necessarily put anything alien on any of it. It's just their lights in the sky doing things that I don't know. That satellites are capable of. I did just recently learn that satellites can turn themselves and they have patterns where they're not like super. There are several that just go in the straight orbit around the Earth, but there are several that turn through the sky and move around.
really,
And, even on the app.
are they
And that's-
lower than regular
That's the
satellites?
other thing
or-
is, I am just starting to look into all that stuff
Okay.
because of this.
Yeah, you're kind of new at this. You want to learn everything you can.
But
Yeah.
they shouldn't be able to just stop dead track.
I
If they're
wouldn't
turning,
think so,
you
yeah.
should still be able
Especially
to see
That'd
them
be
turn.
like a drone type thing, if anything. Huh?
They weren't moving slow to begin with. They were moving pretty quickly across the sky, and it was dead stop. And then they just looked like stars. So
And then you see someone standing right next to you that's not there. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's insane.
that was only a couple hours from here. And then it was 2 or 3 weeks after that we went up to Nebraska, and
You didn't want to talk to him, like you got scared. You,
Well, I
you
mean,
want to be like,
Well, the second I
Whoa,
stood up,
hey.
it was gone.
yeah,
Like-
so it wasn't sticking around, whatever
No.
it was.
well, that sucks. Like, what's the point of just showing up here? Like, hey,
And
I see you. You're not fooling me. What's up? What
it
can I do
seems
for
to
you?
be connected because it all happened at the same time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was. What was on the ground may not have had anything to do with what was in the sky.
It's true.
I don't know.
I
That's a
don't know.
pretty strong coincidence.
It is.
I don't know.
It is. And then, yeah, we went up to Nebraska a couple weekends after that. We did see a few weird lights. Do you remember what happened up in Nebraska?
I remember the Corona constellation, the one that was a circle.
Oh, yeah. There's this Corona constellation in the sky right now. That's the actual name for it.
It means crown because they were
And-
all in a circle together. So.
It actually kind of looks like a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
With the stars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've noticed it the last few times we've gone out. And we noticed it before, that the time before, because it looks like a spiral. So it's
Oh, cool.
noticeable in the sky. Well, we were sitting in a cemetery in nowhere, Nebraska, and just looking up at the sky. It was a high point, so we could kind of see around. And we were looking at that constellation, and there was a really bright star in the center of it, as the center of the spiral. And it went out. Couldn't see it anymore. And you look through your binoculars, you could barely pick it up. But I know that, stars flash and they do weird stuff going through our atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't there. And then we noticed it.
Bright.
And then 3 minutes later, it was gone.
Whoa.
And it's weird if it was any sort of like atmospheric disturbance, like smoke or dust or something in the air. You would have thought the whole constellation would have gone out of focus, not just that one tiny speck.
Right. When you were talking about the 5 light one just a minute ago,
Mm-hmm.
I think I remember. Was that corroborated with any other? Were there other stories that same time about people seeing that? Because I thought I read something around that same time
Well,
of something very similar.
I don't know. I
happening.
don't know about 5 particularly. I know that around that time in the news a lot was Starlink,
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk's string of satellites, but they're all in a straight line and they're all evenly spaced and they're all moving at the same speed. And they definitely were, and there's 20 of them. They definitely weren't in the sky that night. I don't remember a particular thing with 5 that I remember
I
seeing.
thought I remembered reading something.
I'll
weird.
have
I don't
to-
know. There's been so much stuff lately
Yeah.
about UFOs. Like I don't know. I have different theories, and I can go down any kind of conspiracy theory rabbit hole you want to throw at me, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the story of the UFO, like recently the Pentagon papers where they came out and said, we have materials that aren't of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't read the article today. I just lost it, but Harry Reid was hiding information about UFOs for a long time. Like he knows something, he's been hiding it, and that just came out today. But I didn't get a chance to read it.
I haven't seen that.
But with all the, I don't know. I just don't know how that story, with COVID going on right now, just dominating the news.
People aren't paying attention to it. I think
People
that
aren't
might
paying
be
it.
part of the point
Yeah,
too.
it's just weird that we have this pandemic, and then we got Black Lives Matter and all these riots going on, and then we just have all this UFO stuff going on. Just pardon the pun, but under the radar.
Mhm.
Just I don't know.
I mean, it is the perfect time to release it.
I think there's some kind of agenda behind it. I still stand firm on my idea, and I've had this my thoughts on this,
Idea
and I've
for
had
what?
this for years.
Corona.
No.
Okay.
On UFO disclosure.
Oh,
they
okay.
wouldn't do it unless they had a motivation to do it that benefits them. There wouldn't be any reason why they would just decide all of a sudden to share their information that they might have about it. They would have to have a reason, either to get out ahead of something if something was going to happen where we would find out anyways, or it benefits them in some way. I just can't believe that they care enough about us to tell us.
Oh yeah,
about
they're not
it.
like, we can't wait to give you guys this information that all of mankind's been searching for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowledge is power and information is power, and
So
it'd be nice to know who knows what for real.
yeah.
I mean, I'm curious about when they release this stuff, what their motivation is. Yeah, and to me, it's like just kind of like building us up to letting us know that they're here and being okay with it, instead of just dropping it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
When they just kind of piecemeal it, get you kind of used to the idea, and then all of a sudden, all right, hey,
It's real.
it is actually real. Here's
Yeah.
here's our zoo at Area 51 of these caged up things are actually real. There you go.
And
We're
no
like,
one's gonna
oh,
care.
we knew it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Can we see them? How much is a ticket to go see these things? What do we feed them? Like, what's going on? And then, the other thing in the news, did you see what Trump said? Like, he just said, like, if there's aliens or something, we're going to attack them with like
Really?
a force
I
they've
had not
never
seen that.
seen. Like,
I did not. I missed that.
I think he just said this, like, yesterday.
Crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I haven't, like I said, yesterday I was more hungover than in my entire life yesterday, so I was just laying down all day. I didn't do any kind of research, but
To me, the UFO disclosure, if that is what's happening, should be a scarier thing to the population than it seems that it's having the reaction. Like, to think that the United States government, that is mandated to protect the citizens of the United States, just admits that there are things in the sky that they don't know what it is and have no control over, or no way of stopping. That's a very scary thing, and it's something that I don't see the government admitting to unless they had a reason to.
it is scary. But if they've been here for so long and nothing's happened, maybe it isn't scary.
I mean, that's true.
The
and
scary
maybe
thing is if they're
that's-
brand new here, if
yeah.
they're just getting here. That's
Mhm.
the scary thing to me.
Well, yeah, and that's taking the account if they're actually going towards telling us about these things, and they have been here a long time. But for the military to basically say we can't protect you from these things, they don't say that directly, but that's basically what they're saying. That's a big thing to admit, especially for our military.
Mhm.
I mean,
I don't know that they're
Yeah.
admitting that.
I mean, it may be the two.
they haven't said that directly, but that's what it infers. If they don't know what it is, they can't possibly know how to
Yeah.
defend it from it. They've stated that they don't know what it is. That doesn't mean that they don't, but they've stated that they don't know what it is. So that's basically, in my mind, an admittance of if they don't know what it is, how can they possibly think they could protect us from it?
Yeah, and if we need protection, do we
Yeah.
even need protection? I'm sure we do. I mean, with the kind of technology they're talking about, with just the things that have been recorded lately, with the Tic Tac thing and
Mhm.
that thing that we went from like 60,000 feet to like that 1 foot from the ocean floor in like less than a second.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just crazy. It's I don't know.
But we decided, I'd been looking for a spot within 8 hours of us that had the least amount of light pollution there possibly is. I found a place, and we're actually wanting to do a project out there. So I'm not going to say exactly where it is yet, especially to the public.
Scariest place
'Cause
on earth.
We're gonna do a documentary on it. I hope. It is in Colorado, and it's in the desert of Colorado, in southern Colorado, and I just found it because it was on the map, the light pollution map, as a place where there was zero light pollution.
Oh, cool.
Like the closest town is 50 miles. Maybe not 50 miles, but at least 30 miles away. It's a small town,
right.
and it was free camping. It's free camping. It's federal land. It's not a park, but it's federal land, and not very many people know about it.
There was only one entrance.
I couldn't even find a lot of information on it, other than it was ancient Native American land, and there's actual pictographs in the canyons from ancient Native Americans.
Oh, I love that stuff.
So we decided that we were going to go drive out there and camp for a weekend because it was free and it was what we were wanting to do. I couldn't find a whole lot of research on the place beforehand, so we kind of went in blind, just looking at aerial views, and we were just we're going to go camp there and try to find the best place to camp there and the most vantage point and whatnot. So we got out there about an hour before it got dark, and we did not finish the night there.
Whoa, why not?
And that's hard for me to admit because I'm a big outdoorsman.
It's easy for me to admit.
What, did it rain or something?
No. Honestly, and I feel bad for saying this towards Larry, I would have stayed. I wouldn't have been able to sleep. I would have stayed. But Larry wanted to go, and I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to be able to sleep anyways. Might as well go get a hotel.
Okay.
We lasted till like 3 a.m. There were weird lights in the sky, weird lights on the ground, screaming in the canyon.
Drum beats.
What?
We were listening to some podcasts on a Bluetooth speaker,
Uh-huh.
and there were voices coming across it. We go back and play the podcast again. It wasn't there.
Whoa.
Several times the voices sounded like Larry, and Larry wasn't saying anything. And the big thing that at the very end of the night that made it so that I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep was, I set up the tent when we got there, and I put a lantern on my cot, like an electric one, because we were going to go up to the top of the canyon ridge, and I wanted, so if somebody came in, they'd see the tent and they'd be like, we're not going to fuck with it, maybe somebody's in there, was my idea. So that light was still on in that tent at 3 o'clock in the morning when we were going to bed. We were facing away from that tent most of the night, and when we stood up, turned around, and we were going to walk towards the tent, we both stopped because there were 2 lights on inside of the tent. It was the only light in the tent, so I knew it wasn't one of my other lights that maybe turned on.
Mm-hmm.
It looked the same as the other one. It was just like a couple feet away from it in the back of my tent.
Whoa.
There was no moon that night.
How far away were you from the tent when you were seeing this?
About the length of this room.
Holy shit.
Not even that. There was a picnic table between us and the tent.
Whoa.
And we both stopped. We both saw it. It was the same brightness and shade as the other light. But it wasn't the moon. There was no electricity out there. There was no light, so it wasn't any other reflection. And then it went out.
Huh.
Who knows how long it was on before or what it could have been. But yeah, I didn't, at that point, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep. So I was fine with staying up and sleeping during the day because we were going to be out there for the night anyways. But yeah, so that's what happened. There was a light inside of my tent that was no explanation for, on top of hearing all this other shit. Now, there were other people out there.
Okay.
There was another car there when we got there, and they signed into the book as they were camping in the canyon. We saw no evidence of them the entire time. The screaming at one point could have been them for sure, but it sounded like they were screaming for help. Mm-hmm. But we weren't about to go off in the desert in the canyon in the middle of the night to look for them because we didn't know the area.
Mm-hmm.
But there was all kinds of talking around, like right around us, and it was a lot of activity.
Whoa.
It was all kinds of different activity. Not only did we have the lights in the sky, we had the activity on the ground, we had the voices, we had the lights on the ground too. We were seeing other lights moving around out there. The drums. I didn't hear the drums. I'm starting to lose my hearing.
Oh, no.
So they were just outside my range, but I did hear the voices and stuff, and the screaming for sure.
How far away were these screaming and drums and noises? A lot of it.
Oh, it sounded like they were on the other side of the canyon.
Yeah.
But it was like...
It's hard
like,
to...
I don't know how to explain it. Like the deep Indian drumming is what it sounded like.
Cool.
And sound does travel weird, especially through a canyon.
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure.
I think the canyon, as far as I could tell, we never made it down into the canyon. We were on the edge of the canyon. We were up against the canyon wall, so the sound could have been reverberating back towards us. But the canyon's a couple miles long. I don't know how deep they were. We didn't see any like campfires or anything. I don't know. And so we left.
Just left. You went to the nearest hotel.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
And then when
you
we
packed
got
up, so let's get the hell out of here.
And then in the morning, we were going to stay there 2 nights. In the morning, we decided that we were trying to decide if we want to go back there or if we want to try a different place for a second night, because this was kind of a scouting mission anyways. I found an abandoned state park in northern Colorado that's still federal land that you could go camp at for free. And it shut down in 2011. So we drive up there. It's like 4 or 5 hours away.
Jeez.
And
you guys are some warriors.
yeah. So we set up. Actually, the place we ended up camping was kind of cool, or would have. We didn't last that.
We didn't last that night either.
There was an old visitor center there, and it wasn't old, but it had been closed since 2011. There was a big deck on the back, so we actually set up our tents underneath the deck, and we went up and sat on the deck to watch the sky for the night. And
well, you had a tent. I didn't.
Well, that's not my fault.
I thought I had a tent, but it was a see-through covering that you put over a tent.
Yeah, we saw
not
some
a
lights
Boy
in the
Scout,
sky.
were you, Larry?
Nope.
We saw some lights in the sky, but generally we didn't have a lot of weird stuff happen until we went to bed.
Well, you saw I want to say the eastern part of the sky where that cluster was. You said that it seemed like that part of the sky just disappeared for a while.
Yeah, it did seem so, but there was
smoke.
There was a lot of smoke from the fires out west at that time coming through that region.
Yeah.
So the sky,
I was out there in Denver.
though it was clear, it wasn't as clear as we had hoped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't as clear as the place we had been to previously. It was still pretty clear. So there was a point where it seemed like part of the sky got really dim. Like all the stars in that area got really dim, but it could have been that.
Mm-hmm.
But the big stuff that happened that night, so this visitor center was completely boarded up. I checked all of the doors and windows to see if I could get, because I wanted to go inside of it. But I couldn't
to investigate,
get in.
hope it was
just
haunted.
to check it out. I like
okay.
checking out abandoned places,
Yeah.
anyways. A little bit of an urban explorer too.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, I knew that there was no getting in and out of that. And my tent was actually right up against a dock door, like a roll up door.
Mm-hmm.
Larry goes to sleep in his car, and I'll let you tell your part in a minute. So Larry goes to sleep in his car, and I'm laying down in my tent, and the wind is going crazy. And it was the night before too, but the wind is going crazy. So, but I know what that sounds like. But it sounded like somebody was like just destroying his tent. It did all of a sudden, like 30 minutes after laying down, it just sounded like somebody was demolishing it, and it wasn't necessarily the wind, in my mind, anyways. And then I heard someone whisper, "It's them," but kind of in the wind. So maybe it could have been the wind, but it sounded like a whisper, like someone talking. And then I started hearing banging and voices inside of the visitor center, and I got out of the tent. And I went over and knocked on Larry's car, and he didn't move. And then I said his name, and then he got up, and then he told me about what he had experienced sleeping in the car.
Okay.
So yeah,
so separately, you guys.
I slept in the car because
the car was only a few feet away. So.
My tent wasn't really a tent. It was just a covering that you put over a tent.
Right.
It was see-through, and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to sleep because I can see everything that's going to attack me type of thing. So I get in the car, roll
What's going to attack you, Larry?
I don't know. The weird shit that happened out there.
I mean, but what are you worried about, like animals or anything attacking you? Is that what your theory is, or are you afraid of?
I was worried about people like coming into the park and screwing with us.
It's listed as a place to camp online,
mm-hmm.
even though it's shut down. There were there were probably 150 camping spots that were within 500 yards of us. So there were 3 or 4 other people camping away. We couldn't see them from where we were, but we knew
there's
they
people
were out there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
yeah.
gotcha.
So I'm laying there, and I have the windows where I can see through, so I throw the blanket over my head because I don't want to see anything again. And I'm holding the gun. My gun.
Larry is very scary.
I'm very skittish.
Like, he's used to be a lot worse, but he's jumpy. We'll
So
just say that.
I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm sleeping under a blanket in my car with a gun to my chest.
I don't think you're the dude that needs to have a gun if you're jumpy and nervous.
So 5 minutes after laying there, I'm trying to go to sleep, and I hear someone walking around. So his tent is to my right, of the driver, or the left of the driver's door. The parking lot was to our right. I heard someone walking around talking, like mumbling, and I thought, you know, maybe it's Jason. He got up to call his wife, tell him, you know,
Sure, okay.
say good night, you know, I love
Wasn't
you.
me.
And all of a sudden, I hear someone say, "Yeah, it's them."
Whoa.
And then the car started to shake, and I thought, because it was really windy that weekend, I thought maybe a gust of wind picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think anything of it, and I actually fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes later, the worst sensation in the world happened, and I heard knocking on my window, and I was like, fuck. I'm like, I'm not going to answer this. Like, I'll answer if someone says my name, because at that point, I'm screwed because they know who I am anyway. And then I hear knocking again, and I hear Larry. And I'm like, shit. So I opened up the door, and it was Jason, and that's when he explains all the stuff that was happening to him. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I don't know. We just basically heard someone 2 different instances say the same thing. I'm kind of freaked out right now.
Even if it was just somebody out there, they know who we are. They were expecting us, and they acknowledged that
Exactly.
they knew who we were. That's
So
weird.
he's like, let's pack up. We'll go try to find a hotel.
Damn.
Actually, we were going to drive back, but it was, again, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it would have been a 6.5 hour drive, so we stopped on the way back. But
So
there was something on the back window of his car that was not there, and his car back door hatch is automatic, so there's
You
no
can't-
pushing your
there's no
hand
pushing
on
it.
it to close it, and
So
anything like that.
we went to go pack up, and I stopped dead in my tracks because that's the back window of my car. That's probably, 2.5 feet, 3 tall, the window.
Yeah,
It's a handprint.
Look how big it is.
there's no reference, but it's about 3 inches longer than our hands.
And then on the
Whoa.
side of the car, there was that.
Whoa.
So obviously it appeared that there was something or someone out there that
Whoa. What do you
was
got? Whoa.
messing with us. We don't know if it was another camper, but I didn't want to take that chance, you know?
Who would do that? Would people do that? Would people just go mess with other campers like that? Like,
So on our show, on the Ectoplasm show, I've done several episodes where I just find creepy and weird stories from outdoorsmen and campers, and there are several of people just coming out of their tent and there's somebody sitting in their campsite at night, or
No thanks.
they'll have a camera, and there's been several that I've read, and some of them may be copying the other ones, but they came from somewhere, where a guy was out taking photos, and when he got home, there were pictures of him sleeping on the camera. I
That's
recently told one that this guy, he had signed in, he went camping, signed in at the trailhead, camped the night, and on the way back down, etched in the snow, the new snow was his name halfway down. And when he got down to the bottom, somebody had completely scratched out his name.
what the hell?
So there's, and that's, a couple of hundreds of stories that I've told on the show over the years, because I like that kind of stuff. People like to fuck with people.
Well,
That's true. That's true. Look at Bob Hieronymus.
and one of the weird things that happened that night was we had trap cameras set up.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to bed, we moved the trap cameras, but we didn't think to face any of them towards where we were sleeping. So unfortunately, we didn't catch anything. But during the night, he had one of his trap cameras. There was a big propane tank down in the little field next to the visitor center, and he had it sitting there. And he mentioned it to me, and I actually noticed it. The flashing that goes off when it's taking video and pictures, it went off like nuts that night.
Oh,
but
really?
there was nothing on the camera. And I don't know anything about the mechanics of trap cameras if it can do that without taking a picture.
I don't know.
Depends on the
malfunction.
quality of them. Sometimes something fast could have gone past it, and it just didn't catch it.
And it just didn't
Well,
register.
no, there were zero photos or videos.
Nothing. It
on
didn't
it.
take any pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
Yeah.
Whoa.
yeah,
I don't know. I it could have been it was a $30 camera off of Amazon, but it's worked for other things. But I don't know about that. It's the voices.
saying the same thing.
There's also voices inside the building. I don't know.
Yeah, that part's a little
I
concerning.
like I said at the very beginning of this story, I feel a little bit like a pansy because we left, but I knew that at that point I wasn't going to be able to sleep because you're just exposed. You know what it's like. You're an outdoorsman too.
Mm-hmm.
You're just exposed out there.
Right.
Once something weird, if you let it, your mind already goes crazy.
Yeah.
And once something weird happens, I just can't sleep at that point. So
Well, and it's weird that he was hearing voices and banging inside the building because it wasn't just boarded up with like nails. They were actually like the boards were riveted to the building. So it's not like anybody.
Well, we were sitting there all night with
Yeah.
the high winds.
Heard
So if it
nothing.
was just like the wind going through the building, we would have already experienced it several times or all
Yeah.
night for hours. So I don't know.
So it's
I
like,
don't know. We're going back. So
when?
December 11th, 12th, and 13th.
we're going back to
Whoa,
the
that's not
south.
gonna be a cool time to be camping, boys.
So we're going to be going to the southwest. So we're going to have to
It's
watch.
still gonna be cool.
Yeah. So that area out there, it could be either 60 or it could be blizzard. So we have to wait till that week because if it's going to be blizzard, the roads will even be closed.
Right.
So we'll have to see. But that's the plan, to go back to Southwest Colorado, and then maybe we'll do the abandoned state park some other time. But
And then
Yeah.
you're gonna do a documentary type thing. Is
I
that-
want to. I mean, if it's as active, I randomly found this place with all of this activity, and it's actually pretty close to the 37th parallel, which is attributed to all kinds of activity. I mean, the whole region's this desert. I mean, who knows? But yeah, we want to try to see what we find.
And that's Native American land. You're saying there's the pictographs and stuff
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
what you're
it's-
thinking the noises. You heard the drums and maybe some.
I don't know. So my wife is like 3/8 Native American or something like that. She's just under half, maybe a little over a quarter. I don't know. And I tease her not about being Native American, just about, I don't know. I can't think of any examples. So like when I
When we were
What?
at Boot Hill, and
Oh.
the Indians sitting around the campfire.
yeah, it's just like I will say stuff generally like that's your people, or look, when I see something in the store, I'll be like it's one of your people. So she thinks that they were trying to get me back for that.
It's possible.
I don't know. I still, even though it was crazy, maybe the second night, but the first night, I didn't really feel threatened. But whatever it was that something happened in my tent. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to sleep in my tent.
Yeah,
That
that
night.
would freak me out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I felt threatened that second night.
Yeah,
Well,
it
I
was
mean-
more like, because it was, whatever it was, the voices we heard, it seemed to acknowledge us in particular. So,
You didn't feel like talking back to them though. Like when you hear people in the building, like, "Hey, who's out there? Who's in there?
at that
Yeah.
point,
Hey, hello.
yeah.
I'm camping here." Like I don't know. Is there any
I have a gun.
inkling to be? Yeah, like
Maybe, but it was also like pitch black, and I have a flashlight, of course. I didn't have a gun. Maybe if I had a gun, I would have been more like that. But I knew that there was no way that anybody got in there that I could find.
mm-hmm.
So if they were in there, not that they were a direct threat to me, but they probably weren't somebody I'd want to just deal with. I definitely wouldn't want to go to sleep knowing that there was some unknown person in there.
Well, that's why I'd be
us.
like, yo, what's up? Who's
Yeah.
out there? I'm sleeping here. What are you doing
But
here?
even then, like, what if I did that and it was just some Joe Schmo living in the building?
I'm sorry,
know
man.
if
I
I
had no idea you were here.
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's
you know.
true, but I still don't.
And then you're calmed down, like, oh, all right, it's just a dude. It's
I
just
don't know if I'd calm down.
I
Not that I'd be that worried.
Well, then you
about
could
it.
leave, but it'd be just like,
Be
all
hard-
right,
yeah.
it wasn't supernatural. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fucking
That's true.
some
Yeah, that's for
hermit
sure.
that's living off the land or
Yeah.
something, you know.
I don't know if I'd still be able to fall asleep.
Well, no, then you would leave, but at
Yeah.
least you know what it is.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it had stopped. By the time I got up and got to Larry, it had stopped. So either it realized or they realized that we heard them or it just stopped. So
Well, and we spent a good 30 minutes tearing everything down, packing up, and we didn't
Yeah.
experience anything
mhm.
during that entire time.
They got their message across. They saw that they
guess.
scared you. Get
I
the hell
guess
out of
so.
there. They're like,
I
all
don't
right,
know.
our work's done here, boyos.
Yeah, my
well,
We
one
got these pussies to leave. Ha ha!
my
Got
one
another
fear
one.
my one fear the whole time I was laying down before I fell asleep was that if it was someone out there that they knew where the button was in the trunk of my car, and I would hear it open up and they would crawl in the car with me. But luckily that didn't happen because I probably would have crapped my pants.
Yeah, but like I said at the very
Well, you got
beginning
that
of
gun, man.
this episode, I kind of feel invigorated by all this stuff. I mean, I'm starting a whole new paranormal thing that I'm gonna like put all of my paranormal stuff under a new
Okay.
website that I'm gonna launch soon, and actually it's already out there, but I haven't done anything with it really yet. I've only had it for a few days,
Okay.
but yeah, so I have all these plans now
Okay, cool.
for different stuff
Fun.
coming up.
Yeah, you were telling me that the paranormal conference, you're done with that?
I, in my mind, am done with that.
Retiring from that game.
It could still, like, it could be 6 months from now, and I'm like,
Change your mind?
honestly, every year I do tell myself that I'm not going to do it again. Afterwards, I'm like, that was, because it's grueling to do, and it's hard work, and I always feel so exhausted afterwards, and that just tells me that I did a good job on it. But then I always tell myself, I'm done. But then, a few months pass. But this time was
Once
different.
the hangover wears off, you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to do it again.
This time was different. I went into the planning phase at the very beginning saying that this was going to be my last year.
Okay.
And then just having to cancel it kind of added another nail to that coffin in my mind. I've already deleted all the social media accounts, all the websites, the emails. It's all wiped for me. So if I were to do it again, I'd have to restart all of that, which
That's
I could definitely do.
right.
But in my mind, I'm done. And, a lot of my good friends are telling me they're going to miss it and that I should definitely do it. And they want to help me out with all this stuff. But I kind of want to focus on other things.
Okay.
It would have been the 9th year this year. It would have been the biggest year, and that's why I was pushing so big for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, I don't know if I want to do it again. I don't think I do.
And there was no thought of you, like, passing it on to someone else?
So
Like,
I
is there
do.
someone
Well, so I do have a partner in it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really part of the organization of it. He's more day of. So the third year of the conference.
If you guys knock yourself out on this whiskey, you guys, I don't know
Yeah.
if you're conserving yourselves or what.
No, I'm taking my time because I
figured
don't
you
drink
were,
whiskey.
but
So
Larry, knock yourself
the
out.
third year of the conference, I didn't do it that year either. I was done at that point. And then the fourth year, so he kept it going, changed the name of it because it had a different name before. And then the fourth year, I wasn't a part of it either, but I went to it, and they all told me to come back. So since then, I've been doing all the organizing of it. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it. He doesn't actually know that I don't plan on doing it again next year.
I hope he doesn't listen to this episode.
Probably won't.
No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, I don't really care if he does.
My
doesn't have
brother and my
anything to do
sister
with
listen to
him.
this,
Yeah.
and that's about it. I got
It-
two family members
yeah.
that listen to the show. That's about it. So he won't hear it.
But yeah, I mean, he if he wants to keep doing it, that's fine. He technically owns the name of the conference because he changed it the year that I was gone and got it copyright or whatever it is.
Right.
More, if hopefully he can succeed at it. He's honestly not the organization type. That's why I took all that on. But I haven't talked to him about it because I haven't seen him since then. So
Damn.
I don't know. Maybe somebody that I a mutual friend has told him in their group. Their team is called 10th Dimension Paranormal. They're pretty big in the area.
It's a cool name.
They're the ones that they've been actively, not under that name, but him in particular has been actively doing this since the 60s.
Okay, cool. Whoa, old school.
He actually was the speaker at my first conference, and then the second year he's like, "Let me help you out with this." So,
and so you were bringing up the fact of maybe doing a documentary, and then now focusing more on going to this new venture. Are there thoughts of doing more like maybe content creation at all, or is this just experience only? Like you just want to do this to experience it?
Yeah, it's going to be content creation too.
Okay.
I have plans for YouTube series.
Dope.
Several different YouTube series, including an investigation type YouTube series. We have just talked about, so my new venture is Strange Paranormal. I was so surprised that the domain wasn't taken. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, and all the social media accounts were free too. Is like
Nice.
meant to be. So the thing that I'm starting now is Strange Paranormal. It's going to cover, anything in my. Some people limit the term paranormal to just ghosts, but in my mind, paranormal covers all weird things. So that's kind of what this website's going to be. We're going to start Strange Paranormal Podcast, Larry and I.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So and that launch is going to happen in January.
Nice.
Right now, the website is up, and if people want an investigation, they can go and put in, if any of your listeners want us to come out and check out a place, or if they have, their house is haunted, you can go fill out the form on our website, and we'll contact you, talk to you about it.
Oh, cool. Like bring equipment and let you know if, hey, we think it is or isn't.
It's been a long time since I've done residential cases. They actually are a lot more work. Because you build a relationship with the family, it's different than going to a business. A business can be close to the same, but yeah, anybody that is interested in having an investigation, or if they just want to talk to us, you go to that website and check it out. But
Strange Paranormal.
Yeah. Larry and I right now are working on a photo book, but I have plans for a couple different books that are going to be under this moniker too. I just have all kinds of things that I'm planning for 2021.
Awesome.
So that's why I'm thinking that I might not have the time for the conference.
Right.
Because I was already kind of done with it anyways. So.
And you guys got most of the equipment you need for everything, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I love YouTube videos. I love YouTube creators or whatever, like that kind of creation. I'm not necessarily saying you're definitely doing YouTube or whatever, but that kind of content creation. I'm really into that stuff. I don't watch a ton of the ghost hunting stuff, but I need to definitely. I mean, the political season's almost over. I watch a lot, not a lot, but I try to pay attention to the political stuff. And once this election's over, I'm done with it. I'm not going back to. It's just politics is a nightmare.
That was kind of the last election for me.
Yeah.
I used to. So, how I got into podcasting and listening to podcasts. I had a job way back in the day delivering parts for Napa, and you're in the car all day. So radio stations play the same shit over and over again. So I switched over to
commercial after commercial.
Yeah, I switched over to talk radio. Listen to talk radio a lot, and very political, of course. I used to pay a lot of attention to politics back in the day, but I've never really trusted any politicians.
No.
So
why should you? And that's the thing that drives me nuts is these people
Yeah.
that trust them.
The last election, it doesn't matter what side you're on. It's just it's all a shit show, and I've come to the realization that it's always been a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really pay
Throughout
attention.
human history, anytime we get more than like
you can't
150 people.
Yeah, you can't get away from it. It's everywhere. I mean, every app on your phone now tells you to vote. Probably tells you who to vote for if you click on that stuff. So
I'm getting text messages now. Are you guys getting those?
No.
It's so weird. Like, I'm registered Republican, but I'm getting text messages to vote for Democrats. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
how'd they get your number? Of course, they have your number.
The shadow people got it.
Yeah. Those
They
people
went into your phone.
So we'll have to get you out looking for UFOs sometime.
Yeah.
It's a good time no matter what.
No, I mean, anytime you're just out somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's one of my favorite things about hunting is just an excuse to get away from the city and get where there's very little light pollution and just. I just got this. Like I said, I saw Mars yesterday, and then I have an app, like an augmented reality app, stargazing app, and you just point it anywhere in the sky, and it shows you all the constellations. It shows you all the planets. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love getting out places like that when you're in the Milky Way and you're just.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, your neck hurts.
Yeah.
Because you're just looking up. Like I need to bring.
I need to get one of those chairs. We were talking about that. That kind of lay back.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. What you guys are doing when you're observing? Like, are you in a chair, or just standing up, like looking up?
We're usually sitting down.
Usually in a chair at the moment.
You need to get like a recliner. You need to get some kind of reclining thing.
We have. We just use binoculars in our eyes. And
Binoculars, not a telescope or anything, huh? Binoculars are so fast, quick. You can quick react.
Yeah. I want to get a telescope, but I don't want to get a cheap telescope.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I want to get a super expensive telescope. I just don't want to get a just a couple like $100.
A shitty one's
like
not going to be. You're going to be more frustrated. It's not going to be clear. You're going to be
And it needs to be portable.
Yeah, things like that. Definitely glassware type stuff like binoculars and stuff. You really get what you pay for when you start doing that. Like a good pair of binoculars is like I used to have a nice pair and they were fine, and then I got a really nice pair and I was like, holy shit.
It makes a difference.
What was I looking through for so many years? Like you look at nice quality stuff.
Well, a telescope is something we want to bring with us, but it's a telescope is a very focused area, whereas most of the time we want to have the full view of everything. One thing we have, or he bought one, and we're going to get a couple others. If you get a high-end laser pointer, that's a lot easier than just saying "look over there." So that's something we've been
high-end laser pointer, like you can see it in the sky.
You can see
like,
the beam, yeah.
Okay.
All the way up into the sky.
Oh, cool.
You just have to make sure you don't point it at a plane, or the FAA is going to be looking for you.
Yeah.
What else? What other equipment have we been bringing?
Trap cameras just to set around us.
It's
when you guys are doing the UFO thing, are you also kind of on the side, like whatever? Yeah, like the shadow, like putting up trap cameras, hey, just in case something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's especially what I already had a thought.
It's like you're hunting and fishing at the same time.
Before we went out to Colorado, like before Colorado, we were just kind of looking at the sky. We weren't really paying attention or had any thought about what might be around us on the ground until we were going out to Colorado. So
it'd be nice to find a video recorder that we can like record the sky and actually see the stars and constellations, but I don't know if anything like that exists that we can afford.
Yeah,
I was gonna say you gotta spend some money on something like that.
Maybe if Strange Paranormal kicks off.
Yeah, that's what we want for Christmas.
Sponsors.
Well, you could do the Patreon or something like that.
No, for sure.
I've been meaning to do that. I'm like your friend. I'm unorganized. I got ideas and things, and I've been wanting to try to start a Patreon, and I don't know. I've got it kind of set up, but I just need to get like a few things to give people for the different levels and shit. But
yeah, we had Patreon for years and never paid attention to it. Had maybe one or two people pop in on it every now and then. Some, there's a couple people that have been around for years on it. But I started focusing on it about 2 months ago, and it's nothing big, but I've gotten 20 patrons now, and it keeps growing. So, and that's because when you start paying attention to it, you mention it in the show at the top of the show. You start
your ectoplasm show.
Yeah, you start showing that you're actually giving stuff to the people. We create exclusive content for the patrons. people are looking to join that kind of stuff. So I'm sure you can find some if you put some work into it.
I need to do it. I've put in very minimal work. I need to just do I need to do it. I need to do it.
So
I have no discipline, Larry.
I don't either.
I'm just an undisciplined. Like I don't know. I need someone to crack a whip on me. You know what I mean? Just get shit done.
So I was going to suggest, last time on the show, I told several stories about myself, but Larry hasn't been on before. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of the talking. I think Larry needs to tell a couple of his scary stories from the past.
Larry, yeah, let's go. Why are you so afraid of everything? What's that? Did you watch Freddy Krueger and Jason at a very young age, and it just creeped in you and
No. I did watch Arachnophobia when I was a little kid, and I thank my sister for that. And I'm still scared to death of spiders.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, yeah. What kind of scary thing do you want to hear about?
Well, I don't know. So I'll give a little preface to Larry's level of scared. He joined my group at the time at Mid-Continent Paranormal via Craigslist, and we were about a year old. And I like to stick people by themselves, even on their first investigation, because it kind of adds to the environment. And I think that stress and fear can actually add to the activity. So I like to do that. I did that to Larry the first several times. And for a long time there, he wouldn't turn off his flashlight.
No.
We had to make sure camera was on him. We were doing this anyways. We had to make sure camera was on him, and he knew that somebody was watching him. But just tell him about your scariest paranormal experience on an investigation.
All right. I guess I've got two, if that helps at all. Excuse me.
How long you been doing the investigating thing? When did you join up?
Was it
How long you
2012?
Oh shit, you've been in the
I
game
think
for a
it was,
minute. Okay.
So I started the group in 2008.
So it was like 2010.
I think it was 2010, 2011 is when you and Rick and Nathan and everybody in the group was going really strong. So it was around 2010, so about 10 years ago.
Wow.
One of the scariest things that ever happened to me was I grew up in a small town in western Kansas called Ellenwood. And
that sounds haunted.
yeah, it's for many reasons, but
Western Kansas,
not so
small town in
paranormal.
Western Kansas.
The entire central part of town, the main street, used to have coal chutes and tunnels underneath the stores and the rooms and stuff under the stores.
Whoa!
And when natural gas came around in the late 1800s, they decided to move all the businesses that people didn't want to see above ground, below ground. So you got your distilleries, your barber shops, your brothels, your bathhouses, all that kind of stuff. Well, in the 1980s, they decided that they were going to fill all these tunnels and crevices and rooms in with cement. And they found a lot of these businesses still perfectly intact with all the original items from the 1800s.
Oh, whoa.
So we investigated there. Rick, Nathan, and I, about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was sitting on a bench with my back against a stone wall in the bathhouse. And it felt like someone grabbed and reached their arms around me and tried to yank me back through the wall.
Whoa.
Kind of freaked me out a little bit. They caught me on camera crying.
Really?
Yeah.
It freaked you out good.
Yeah, it
Holy
freaked me out
shit.
good. The second one.
What'd you do? Did you scream? Ah! Like, what do you do? Freak?
No, I just basically went.
You got paralyzed.
I don't feel good, and I started crying.
I've never seen that footage.
It's pretty bad. The second time was actually down in Coffeyville. Is that where Brown Mansion is?
Yes.
Coffeyville, Kansas, the Brown Mansion. The entire upstairs floor was an open gymnasium.
It's a very cool building, actually.
Cool building.
Whoa. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, because back in the day, their son, I believe their youngest son, had type 1 diabetes, and he couldn't go to school, so that was where he went to exercise. And it was also a ballroom, dance room.
I mean, why couldn't he go to school with diabetes?
Well, back in the 1800s, they didn't really have programs to help kids like that and type of stuff, because he would have to constantly be checked for insulin. And,
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Type 1's the one where your body doesn't produce insulin. So
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
It's
We got
very-
it so easy this day and age.
I know, it's so bad. Well, it's hard to explain, but like most rooms, the door opens into the room. This, you open up a doorway and you walk up a set of stairs up into the room, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So you're walking up into the room as opposed to
gotcha.
walking into the room.
I gotcha.
We had finished investigating, and Nathan decided that he was going to go upstairs by himself without a flashlight and grab the stationary camera that we had up there. He said that when he entered the room, he saw an 8 to 9 foot shadow figure on the other side of the room, and it charged at him, hit him in the chest, and it knocked him about 3 or 4 feet back against a wall. And he came downstairs, had a huge red fist print on his chest, and a couple of his ribs were popped out of place. You could see him poking through a little bit.
Wow.
So we went up there. There was no one up there. So we packed everything up. The second we walked out the door of the house, we heard like a popping and turned around, and he was like bent over and like red face, like sweat pouring down, and those ribs had popped themselves back into place the second he left the
Whoa.
building. So I don't know how to even explain what happened, because it didn't happen to me, but it's pretty terrifying, to say the least. Another scary experience happened with this turd. The old Merriam school was like my second or third investigation or something like that. I was so skittish. They were all doing sessions where they were sitting on camera by themselves and doing like an isolation session. Well, they set me back there, and I was so terrified, even though they were only like 15 feet away in another room. I sat there with my flashlight on, watching the clock on the watch I had on my hand the entire time, and they kept yelling at me, telling me to turn off the goddamn flashlight. And I couldn't. I physically could not turn it off. I was so scared. But I think that was just.
You're better. You're better in comparison now, for sure.
I'm still
It's
pretty
been
bad.
10 years. I
Yeah.
hope you've grown a little bit.
It's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
I just
Pretty jumpy.
always have this feeling that there's something watching me. I don't know if it's just psychological or
I think they call it schizophrenia.
it's possible. I do hear voices a lot.
Yeah. Well, I do too. So, but they don't emanate from my head, at least as far as I know.
No, I usually hear stuff that's but he was saying how activity's picked up in his life lately.
Mm-hmm.
The past 6 months or so, I would say we've seen a lot more of what's considered blinking lights on buildings, on street posts and stuff, as we're going to and from investigations or even just driving around. And I don't really know what to contribute that to.
That, to me, in my mind, it's part of something that I've experienced since I was a teenager. And I don't know, it could just be coincidence. It's like if you buy a certain type of car, you start seeing that car everywhere. So
Right.
it could be that we're looking for it now, but I'm an 1111 experiencer. Have you ever heard of the 1111 thing?
I know people that make a wish on 11/11 and
Yeah.
get excited when they look at their phone randomly and it happens to be 11/11. I know that's about the extent of what I know of.
That's kind of I still don't know what to think about this, and I've been experiencing it since I was a teenager. That's kind of like the entry level kind of thing, what you just described. I've had crazy experiences with the number 1111 over the years. And I also have, I put them together because they kind of started at the same time, but I have what's also called streetlight phenomenon, where they go out when I go underneath them. So I kind of
I've witnessed it.
and
Whoa.
that doesn't happen all the time. It's not like I'm
Right.
and it's never when I'm thinking about it, but it's noticeable. It's happened enough in my life, especially around other things, that it's noticeable. I had once when I was 17, 18, I don't know. I was driving home from work. I was still in high school. And as I drove down this road, as I hit every light, a street light above me went out.
What the hell?
But at that time, I was having at least weekly a street light go out when I go under it. It was enough that I noticed it.
Jeez.
And at that time, I was having all the 11:11 stuff going on, but I had just attributed it to it's just an internal clock thing for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I had never looked into it until years later. But I noticed a couple years ago that I would start seeing blinking lights on buildings, and that does happen, or inside a building, or just randomly popping up around. But Larry started noticing it around me before I really talked to him about it.
Oh.
And I don't ever notice them when I'm by myself. And
Oh,
I look for them now that.
And it could be that we're just looking for them now, and it could just be that we always just kind of notice them and they're normal.
Sure.
But I kind of attribute it to the other aspects that I have in my life, because the 11:11 thing is starting. It comes in waves. There'll be years where I don't think about it at all, or even have any, coincidence kind of things happen with it. But then there'll be years where it's super active, and stuff like the lights start happening again. And most of the big things that I've had happen with that number were all from a long time ago. Now it's just kind of mundane stuff that seem connected and tied to the activity going on in my life. When I first realized that it happened to other people, it was a very crazy night for me. I was 22, and my wife at the time, my ex-wife, she was at work overnight. She worked overnight at a place, and my daughter was 1 or 2 years old, was asleep in her bed. And actually, it was right after 2000. It was probably 2000. Well, she was born in 2003, so it was 2004. I think it was when we invaded Iraq. Maybe that was before. I do remember that the reason that I looked up 11:11, because I was sitting on my computer, I was reading about how the first person to die in the Iraq war had the same last name as me, which I thought was really weird, because my last name, there's nobody out there with Jason Kupsik out there in the world. So I thought it was really odd. I know there's other Kupsiks out there in the world, but I thought it was really weird that this person had the same last name as me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the bottom of that page was the number 1111. I don't know why it was down there. I have no idea. It was just a random number at the bottom of the page. So I decided I'm going to Google 1111. And I found that there were hundreds of articles or blog posts, people talking about it on websites out there. And I read all this stuff, and I was kind of feeling weird about it. Like I was like shocked in a way. I didn't necessarily, and I still don't necessarily believe what the people were saying. There's so many people that think it's some kind of angel activation number, just
Right.
weird, crazy stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of all of it. But that night in particular ended up being really weird, because I had been reading that for like 2 hours, and my mind was just like, I don't know what to think about this. It was just kind of in shock. So I went outside, smoked at the time. I went outside, sat out there, had a cigarette, and I noticed the number 11 in the sky. It was just kind of in the stars. It was weird. It was just kind of in the stars. And I looked down at my cigarette, and in the cherry is the number 11.
Wow.
And I roll it over, and there's a smiley face on the other side in the cherry. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And I sat out there for a little while longer, and I went to bed. And for a good 20, 30 minutes, in the corner of the room was a glowing ball of light about the size of a basketball.
That's pretty significant size.
It was that night, all that stuff aligned. I don't know what to think of it. the glowing ball of light, I've seen that color in things before, and I've seen that kind of light before, but it was sitting there as I was laying there for a good half an hour. I didn't, like, at that time I wasn't investigating this. I didn't get up, take a picture of it. I mean, I did, phones didn't have a camera.
Yeah.
Then. Oh, they did, but I didn't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was and I was in shock anyways.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff for me comes and goes. I haven't had that crazy of a lineup since then, but it definitely, that kind of stuff comes and goes.
All these paranormal stories, UFO stories, when you hear other people talk about them, do you believe them? Usually,
It's hard.
yeah, isn't it hard for, like,
It's hard
probably
especially
people
for
find
investigators.
it's
Yeah.
hard to probably believe you guys. Like, how do you deal? Like, I don't know. Isn't it's just?
It's one of those things that I don't really care whether or not people believe me because I know it happened,
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. And
It's kind of like a inside joke or a
Yeah.
location joke, in a way. I also attribute it to me personally. If Larry were to tell me a story, I trust Larry. Larry's a friend of mine. He wouldn't lie to me. I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me a story, I don't have any reason not to believe you, but I don't. I wouldn't not believe you, but I wasn't there. I didn't experience
Right,
it. I
right.
don't know.
Yeah.
And I would think that it's the same way when I tell someone a story, which is fine. I'm not worried about it.
It's just they're so crazy, and like it
Mhm.
just seems like they're so real to you.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't we believe them? But it's like,
yeah.
I've never experienced anything like any of this.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just like a thing that, we're all given gifts, if you will, and all have our own knacks and specialties in life. And maybe this is just something that some people, for whatever reason, in this human experience, have these things, whatever, interact with you or show themselves to you or whatever.
I just look at it as either the right place, the right time, or the wrong place, the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it not necessarily dealing with someone being predestined or have gifts or anything like that, but I mean, when you look at like old mafia hits and they go into a bar and they're after one person but they got to kill everybody in the bar, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, type of thing. It could have happened to anybody.
I'm also very aware that it could be in my head.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm fine with
Yeah.
that
Okay.
if that's the case. It's still a real experience,
Right.
even if it's a real experience to me.
Right.
Even if it's two people seeing something, it's still a good there's still a possibility. I wouldn't say a good possibility, but there's still definitely a possibility that the same thing is going on in both of your heads. There could be an environmental factor that's affecting both of you that
Mhm.
makes you see something that you both see. But to me, it holds a little more weight. But yeah, I fully accept that it could 100% be in my head, and I'm fine with it. Because what can I do about it? At least I'm not.
Enjoy it.
Well, and at least I'm not.
Turn it.
I think it's healthy to look at it that way personally,
Mhm.
because if I were to really start thinking about it, you could land up in a nut house or something.
Yeah, for sure. People might think you're
Mhm.
really crazy if you got
Yeah.
real super invested in it and just like, yeah. I mean, back in the day, there were
Yeah.
drowning witches.
Oh yeah.
Well, and not believing me is probably the least thing that I'm worried about. It doesn't offend me. You could do a lot worse to me.
Yeah.
So anybody that lasts in this field that has to have thick skin.
Yeah. You probably have a lot of people,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
probably at least behind your back, going, "Yeah, that dude's fucking crazy."
Well, because then it's also so it's more acceptable for sure.
Yeah.
I would think so, because even like in spiritualism and stuff back in the 1800s, it was acceptable. Like people, but there's still and I've tried over the years. I've tried to figure out why it's this way. people love hearing about paranormal stories. People like talking about it, but there's still like a joke factor. Like, and I experienced it a lot when I first started in the paranormal field. Not so much these days, but people turn it into a joke. Like people that I would work with at the time, they would joke about it, which is fine. It was all humorous to me and them.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't seriously trying to make fun of me, but I think that people that do that turn it into a humor. I think there's a fear factor to it. They either truly think it's all crazy and that you're crazy, or they're a little bit afraid of it, so they kind of joke it off. I don't know, but
it's crazy. I mean,
it is crazy.
I mean, just living is crazy.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. They're coming up with new theories and I just heard a thing the other day that they're thinking there's life inside of stars.
I don't see why there couldn't be.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of life than we're normally used to thinking about or looking at, but there's the way he was, I don't know if it broke it all down. There's a lot of energy inside of a star spinning around and things. Sometimes we get spin and DNA sequence type things. At the same time, things get spun and connect together and they create a thing that they call life. And some stars will emit. They can kind of emit more light when they want to and flash when they want to because they are alive. It's a theory, but it just came out, a recent theory that just came out.
We are definitely weighed down by our human perspective.
Yeah.
We look at everything as it has to be like us.
Yeah.
Or if we haven't experienced it, we don't even think about it as a possibility. I know that, science doesn't 100% do that, as corrupt as a lot of science is,
right.
But we can't, I think we talked a little bit last time about what the aliens' motivation could be if they're here.
Mm-hmm.
We can't possibly know that. We can't we don't have their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Their motivations could be something that we couldn't even understand with our minds.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, our whole perception is faulted to begin with because we judge things based on principles that we've come up with that we think we understand. I mean, it's
Larry's a scientist actually too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean our whole existence is judged on rules that we've made and
or observed
or observed.
Studied,
I mean, who knows if we're right?
I mean, yeah, for something. And I think another big thing you just through the human evolution, or not even just human evolution. I mean, we're evolved to where we're at, but I mean, as far as just the thought process of different civilizations and different cultures, how we have lost a lot of that. I mean, when you look at some of the old writings and you look at some of the temples and things like that, and now you look at, we have a very puritanical view on things, and it just kind of, I think, distorts a lot of our maybe not distorts, but maybe kind of hinders our thinking a lot right now, because we just a lot of just too much puritanical thinking, and we're just too much of that spirituality with God and religion. But maybe there is, we need to be more open to kind of thinking the other dimensions or other planets, or who knows, come up with whatever simulation theory. I mean, just theories go on and on. It's just, what the hell are we?
Well, society, and not necessarily society as well, but the view of ancient cultures, we see them as primitive, but I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's right at all.
Just because they
we
may
have an
not
iPhone,
have the technology we have doesn't mean that their brains are primitive.
Right.
I would say that they were obviously they were definitely more spiritually open, and that doesn't mean that they were spiritually open because they were quote unquote primitive. Maybe we definitely see the world in a more materialistic way.
Well, they had less distractions, or at least different distractions. They weren't being pulled to be capitalistic and to create the next big thing or to buy the next new shiny thing. And when we think about these ancient civilizations, you want to talk about light pollution.
Yeah.
There was no light pollution back there. I mean, every night these people went to bed, they're flying through outer space.
Yeah.
And then the first thing that wakes them up is their sun that's giving them life and sustaining them. So they have a whole different theory and way to think about just life, and they focus more of their time on the stars and
Yeah.
and
Well, and
spirituality.
anytime anybody comes up with a writing from an ancient culture, it's always torn down as they don't know what they were seeing or they don't know what they were experiencing, and they can only put it down in these words. The dragons in the sky weren't really dragons in the sky. They just didn't know what they were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they talk about crafts in the sky, or that they were, they met these creatures. They were stupid. They were primitive.
Right.
They don't know what
Yeah.
they're talking about.
Yeah.
Was it you that I can't remember the name of the theory, but that told me that how we're living right now has occurred hundreds of times throughout history, and
The
then
cycles.
the cycles, and it keeps
yeah.
repeating itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're definitely
Civilization as a whole and societies,
empires.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have the details off the top of my head, but
Mhm.
we are in a pattern for sure,
Mhm.
and we are in the end pattern
We
for
are,
sure.
yeah.
And there's nothing, according to this guy I read, that we can do about it because it's part of the pattern. No matter what the society has done in the past, that was the big society at the time, whatever it was, Romans, Greeks, going back into ancient history, Egyptians, they've never been able to stop it, no matter what they did.
Mm-hmm.
It always collapses. There's always a restart.
It's funny.
So.
It's yeah. I was just talking about that.
And it's math. It's all
Yeah.
in him. It's all math, and it's all cycles, and he has it down. And there's
Well, yeah. There's
nothing
different
we
things
can
you
do
can
about
track. Like when you
Mhm.
see certain things in society that have
Yeah.
happened. A lot of it is like what you see being pushed right now is a lot of transsexual rights and
Mhm.
gay rights. and-
cultural things for sure.
Yeah, it's
Definitely a
just
big
it's all it's a
marker.
huge big
Mhm.
marker. There's a lot of that stuff, and when
Yeah.
that starts stuff going, it seems like that seems to be the marker of the end of the empire. Like all those other empires, that's when that stuff started getting big.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you have no other problems. You got nothing else to focus on. You've gotten
Yeah.
so easy within life. Like, what do we need to focus? Oh, we need to make sure these people have more rights and they're able to do more of this and that. They've been yeah.
Well, we
instead of-
only have our perspective, right? Most
Mhm.
people aren't historians, and they don't look at that kind of stuff, or they don't read that kind of stuff. Even historians don't really focus on that kind of stuff. To think that, I'm not surprised, but to think that identity politics is a new thing in human history, it
Right.
absolutely is not.
right.
And I think of identity politics as just a means to control, because if you're
Mhm.
worried more about who you are and the other person is a threat to you, you're under control.
Mm-hmm.
That,
But
Then
yeah,
also
so-
it boils down to how tribalistic we are as
Yeah.
people, and it's just like I gotta pick the right side, no matter what.
I mean, isn't that what happened to the Romans and the Roman Empire?
It did. It happened to every
Yeah.
civilization
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Before the Romans, it was the Persians. And then, I mean, I don't know much
keep
back
it
there,
moving.
but
Yeah.
this guy I was reading had laid it all out.
And we got the different dynasties, like the Chinese dynasties.
Mhm.
And didn't this have something to do with those stones that you were telling me about in the river coming
They
above and
a show I had
below?
listened to lined it up with that, but not the guy that wrote
Not the
that
guy
book.
that wrote that. Okay.
But there, you'll have to forgive me on this. This is just randomly popped up. There are these stones in a river in Asia that are only exposed, every few centuries or millennia. And when they are exposed is a cataclysmic time for the world. They can go back to, there's markings on the stones of when they were exposed, when the water recedes and they come out. And they're exposed right now. And they have been since the end of last year.
Oh shit! Really?
I would have to refresh myself to
Well,
know
that'd be
the
fun. That'd be
details
a
of
fun-
it, but it came up early on in the coronavirus talks because it's also associated with viruses or plagues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we were due for a plague.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
happens every 100 and something years. there's a lot of things we're due for. I think the thing that's really scary that we're due for is that caldera could explode at any time.
We're like
Yellowstone, right?
50 or 60,000 years overdue.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least in the window. Maybe not
Yeah.
overdue, but there's like a window. Yeah, we're in that window.
Mm-hmm. For sure. We're near the end of that window.
No, I think we still got a long time in that window.
I think
there's still like, I don't know, thousands of years in that window.
Maybe.
But we're in the window.
Yeah.
And the other thing, we got shit flying at us all the time.
Yeah, that's one thing that
constantly we got meteors flying. I know people don't ever think about that. That's the thing. Earth will get hit by another rock.
Yeah.
I mean, we got venomous caterpillars, furry caterpillars in Virginia now.
Oh, there's toupee caterpillars.
I actually wrote a blog, I remember in high school, that the premise of it is we are always going to have problems on this earth and we're always going to fight each other, but we're not going to have those problems if we're all dead when something crashes into the earth. So we should be focusing on that rather than just fighting each other. Everybody's argument against that on the blog post was we need to fix us first. Which I don't think is ever going to happen.
You can't fix us if there is no us.
Well, the funny thing is, the thing that's going to fix us is that meteor.
Yeah, that's true.
It's going to wipe everyone out and give us back to, there was a time where Earth was down to like 10,000 people at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was Krakatoa, wasn't it? It was a caldera in in Pan-Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Krakatoa.
Sounds familiar.
It was a super volcano.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Boom, there's like 10,000 people on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Start over.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Well, and that's why, like, the Georgia Guidestones say we need to get down to 50 million people, and why everybody thinks the Illuminati wants to kill all of us.
Yeah. I know so little about the Illuminati and the Bilderbergs and all that stuff. I haven't gotten too versed into those kind of conspiracies.
I was a kind of conspiracy internet warrior. Not really warrior, but I was really a big enthusiast. I still love conspiracies. I
love them.
Reading about them.
I love them.
I was really into them in the late 90s, and so there are two different kinds of conspiracy theorists out there. There are the enthusiasts that are interested in them, and then there are the crazies that believe all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've looked into a lot of those groups. Back then, Alex Jones wasn't quite as crazy as he is these days. Actually, he was a lot less crazy than he is these days.
Back in when he did that owl god. Was it Moloch, the owl god, when he went and investigated
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his first big documentary that launched him.
Yeah, I do like a good conspiracy, but I don't believe in too many. I mean, I believe in the ones that were like when we got the Freedom of Information Act that told us like the Gulf of Tonkin and Northwood, Operation Northwoods and stuff like that. You start reading about these things, and then you start looking at what our government's doing today.
Conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theory overall
Larry, want
is
some more?
very, very under attack right now, and has been since the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
There was a good 5-6 years where it was more acceptable, and just to talk about it, to have the discussion. But now, every major corporation on the internet is cracking down on it. YouTube, if you mention conspiracy theory in your headline or in the description or even in your video, they will censor some things or even delete them, but you will not get like put into suggested videos or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm bummed about that.
I get their, I see. And it's the reason they use it. Their argument is they don't want to spread that because they believe it's all lies and it's detrimental to the people that will just believe it. But it's also censoring the topic.
I hate censoring. I'm very anti-censorship.
Are you worried about podcasting getting censored? Or at least regulated?
No.
You don't think that's coming?
It's just the internet. No. I think there's always going to be an outlet out there that's going to allow you to have your freedom and let you do that stuff. There's always going to be these smaller platforms that are going to allow that, I think. I don't know.
Probably.
I can't say always, but I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't
so they may still allow you to do it, but if Apple decides that they're going to start not holding certain shows, you're going to be cut. Like your audience, it goes to, they'll have to find you rather than just Apple feeds all those other sites for the most part. So YouTube has been doing it to videos.
I know YouTube's censored a lot of things with like flat Earth and anti-vaxxing, and they've definitely done a lot of their own.
So I guess I don't mean that you won't be able to do it. Your just audience won't be able to find you.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, I'm not big enough to worry about it. I guess if I was. I don't know. It'd be nice. Yeah. Yep, I'm anti-censorship. That's why I'm not a big fan of Canada. They don't have free speech.
Yeah.
They're just our hat. Canada's our hat. I like to rag on Canada.
Yeah.
I'm excited for your new adventure, or your venture that you're starting to go on and changing kind of gears a little bit and getting invigorated and going to start this new content creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about your podcast a whole lot, but you're more welcome to talk about it and pimp it out. The Ectoplasm one.
Yeah, Ectoplasm show, where we just hit 350 episodes.
I listened to it from time to time.
We had our 6-year anniversary a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
It's still going strong. We've, Josh, my co-host, had COVID in his house and was kind of unavailable for a couple weeks, but we're getting back to it this week. So yeah, it's all things paranormal, and it's a funny conversational podcast like this, and where we talk about topics in paranormal news, but we don't take it too seriously. The podcast Larry and I are starting. We haven't really talked about it. It was just yesterday I texted him. It was, let's start a podcast.
Nice.
I want it to be more serious.
Okay.
And just topic driven. We'll talk about the topics, put out there
paranormal
the research,
topics.
Yeah. Put out there, what we find out about it, but it'll be less conversational, more
journalistic, perhaps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
That's what I want to do with that one. So yeah, go to ectoplasmshow.com for the Ectoplasm Show. Go to Strange Paranormal for the rest of it, which doesn't have anything on it right now except for coming soon in the form that people can contact us if they want to.
And you have a team, like a paranormal team, or is it just you and Larry kind of doing your own?
So technically, Larry is part of another team.
Okay.
We haven't done.
It's a whole long story, crazy history between Larry and I. They kind of fucked me over one year, but that's all water under the bridge now. That was a long time ago now. Anyways, I haven't had an active team in probably 5 years, 6 years, 5 years. It's just been me and my friends. That's kind of what I'm going to do.
I like
going
that.
Forward.
Keep it.
It's the
chill.
Strange Paranormal is going to be me. When I go on an investigation, I'm going to bring the people around me on. But Strange Paranormal will not be about me. It's me doing the stuff with my friends.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to do some more stuff.
Definitely.
I'd love to come out, try to find some UFOs, try to see some more ghosts. I know it's probably getting a little bit late. I'll kind of wrap it up. I gave Shannon and Elijah this kind of question that I liked, and I want to pose it to you guys as well with the kind of investigating that you do. You guys do a lot of the, ghost hunting, if you will, and I think a lot of people, probably you too as well, I'm not going to speak for you, but maybe look at that as like ghosts are like they were people. They were alive. Now they're dead.
That's not how I look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, never mind.
But
do you think? But have you thought, or is there any thought process? What if there are ramifications or anything posing towards you guys for when you guys die? Like, since you do all of this messing around with these ghosts, if you will, and paranormal stuff, do you think once you guys cross over, whatever happens when you die, whatever you think, do you think there could be ramifications or even happy things that could be a result from all of this stuff that you're doing in this realm?
Go first. Go for it.
My personal opinion, if ghosts are real, if they are remnants of someone's soul that's been left over from when they've passed because they have unfinished business or whatever, I think I am going to be a ghost because unless I have all these questions that I have in my head about this stuff answered before I die, I'm still going to have those questions as a ghost.
Okay.
So I'm still going to have that unfinished business, per se, that I'm looking to solve. As far as like ramifications, I don't know.
I mean, that might be one if you get trapped, if you get stuck because you have unanswered things and you get trapped in this.
Guess that would be a ramification just on me, per se, as to a ramification on like,
no, I mean
society as a whole.
No, I mean just on you, personal ramification. Do you think anything
I
possibly?
I think that could be a ramification. I don't think there would be any sort of ramifications for anybody else.
But it's like, since you're doing this, once you die, do you think maybe these spirits, if you were like, all right, our time, you've been fucking with us all
like
these years, chasing us.
That's
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd say
you think you were scared then, Larry? You ain't got no gun now or blanket to put over you. We got you now.
That's true. Shit.
For me, as far as ramification, I'm not a religious person. I think that if I live a good life, I shouldn't have to prove myself. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. But I think if I live a good life and there's something after, I will be fine after. Even if it's coming back here in a different form. I don't know.
I just didn't know if this was like something you guys think about, like, oh shit, what happens if I die? Or when I die, will me messing with these ghosts or trying to investigate them, will they, I
guess
don't know.
As investigators, the more I think about, and probably that I know that other people think about, is if I die, will I be able to come back?
Yeah, and mess with people.
Not mess with people, but will I be that bridge that can allow that person to witness something or even prove something? I guess I never really thought about, because I don't feel malicious when I'm interacting with these things. So I don't know if I would worry about them unless they're already evil. And you would already have to worry about them whether you were doing what we're doing or not.
Sort of, unless you're opening yourself up to them.
That's true.
It could be the point, too, that like we've gone to locations so many times trying to interact with these things, and who's to say that they haven't been trying to interact with us back? And now that we're finally dead, they're like, hey, dipshit.
Yeah.
I was trying to talk to you. Now you're going to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
The other thing that could be possible is the religious nuts are right, and we are just fucking with demons, and we're going to pay for it. There are plenty of those people out there that believe we are basically doing work for the devil because we're trying to interact with these things.
Okay.
I'm not personally worried about that, but there's that they could be right. I don't know.
Right. Who knows? Who fucking knows?
I guess I already have my viewpoint on life, and I'm fine with it. And if that's what happens, like if I go to hell afterwards because of that, well, fuck it. I was going to hell anyways. I mean, I don't know. So, what's the other part of the question?
Basically, that was it. If you're just if you think about that, what your afterlife could be as a result from doing these investigation type things, if there could be anything that.
Could you look at it too as we're already dead, and maybe the things that we're trying to communicate with are the things that are still alive that are trying to communicate with us.
Sure.
And we're in purgatory or hell.
Okay. I don't love that idea. But
I mean,
sure, I'm down with something, or maybe some kind of interaction between some kind of dimension, and this is like some weird, fuzzy part between two dimensions that just happen to be, maybe that's a mirrored universe that they're paranormal investigators too. In that realm, and then you guys keep going to the same spots because that's where just randomly we keep interacting with each other. It's just two dimensions keep fucking with each other. You both trying to observe each other, and just can't quite breaking through and coming up with their own theories and ideas.
That's definitely a theory in the field for sure.
Okay,
that it could be something just as curious as us interacting with us. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe they'll never know. It could all just be a glitch in the Matrix. So Who knows? And I'm fine with never knowing. I don't need that anymore. That's not why I do it. I do it to experience this stuff. So
It's fun.
yeah.
Whether it's real or not, the experiences are real, like you said earlier. And like I said, I don't necessarily believe. I'd like to. I want something more compelling. But the experience I had with the little goosebump areas, that was cool. That'd bring me back. You know, I'd do it again.
I wish I could promise you that activity you would, even if you were with us and we had all kinds of stuff happening,
Yeah.
you may not even see it or interact with it.
Yeah.
I had a longtime friend who passed away a few years ago that came on 100 investigations with us. We had all kinds of activity at a lot of these places. He only ever saw one thing once, and he was fine with that too.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great time going to these going to that building was an experience in and of itself.
It was really cool.
We get to go to those places like that often. It's great. So, but for him, it was all about that. And one time he saw a shadow figure standing next to him, next to a hanging noose in a barn in
Oh, shit.
in Boonville, Missouri.
Yep.
Yeah. So that could happen to you. We could take you on 100 investigations and you never see anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish something would happen for you.
Me
I'll
too.
try. You're definitely invited.
All right.
I'm lining up as much stuff as I can, so
Yeah.
I'll keep you in the loop for them.
Do it. I'd love to be part of your created content as well. Maybe get
Awesome.
a special feature on one of your YouTube
Sure.
videos. Come out
Definitely.
there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Well, guys, this was awesome. Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Thank you for that Halloween episode.
Definitely.
I'll leave this moment here for you guys to kind of, if there's anything you've left out or would like to say. Or
I've already
pimp.
promoted my stuff, but
Yeah.
Larry's actually an author as well.
Oh, really?
And he could tell you where to, and an
Scientist,
artist,
an author, an artist.
He can tell you where to find his stuff online.
Okay.
If you're interested in his
What
books.
you got?
or
What do
art.
we got? What are your books about? Or book? What?
One of the books I've written is just about some of the paranormal experiences that me and my team have had. I have one photo book out of, it's like a dining room coffee table
Fun.
type book. We're actually putting one together right now that I'm hoping to have out in the
I
next
love a
couple
good
weeks.
coffee book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you go to www.antiquememories.art, that's my website where you can buy all the photography, the cartoons, the artwork, the books.
You have a book about black-eyed kids too. Is it
I-
on there?
It's not on there. I've written a fictional book, a novel about the black-eyed kids phenomenon. My take on it.
I don't know what that. I've never heard of the black.
We'll have to save that.
Well,
for
yeah,
the
we'll
All
next
have to
right,
save that.
we'll save it.
I just had it professionally edited, so I'm
okay.
finishing typing it up.
Sweet.
Hoping to have that out pretty soon. But yeah, you can check it out on Facebook too if you just go to Antique Memories. Or
What's the name of your book that is out there?
the name of my books that are out there, the picture book is called Mindscapes: Photography of America.
You're a photographer, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not as good as this one. This one does pretty
I
well.
don't even try.
Yeah, it kind of upsets me, but the investigation book about the experiences in the paranormal is called The Parachum Chronicles. My nickname is Parachum Rick.
Like chum in the water.
Yeah,
Parachum.
because I scare, so they like to scare me.
I say parajump.
That works too. And then the one that's coming out soon about the black-eyed kids is called The Children: Birth of Evil. So
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa.
I'm hoping to have that out before Halloween.
Okay,
So-
and a scientist. I will definitely do some more talking. I'll definitely get you guys back in here. This was fun. This is the kind of conversations I love. This shit.
Yeah.
This is why I do the podcast. It's fun, interesting.
Yeah.
I love this.
Thanks for having us.
Oh
back.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming back, and we'll definitely do this again. I like you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't bring you a present this time.
You only have. You don't have. I was just saying you don't have to do it once. You did it once. That's all. That's salt, right?
It's salt from 650 feet below Kansas.
Did you ever lick it?
Yeah.
Did you?
Of course. Larry, Jason, appreciate you guys. Let's get the hell out of here. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Halloween podcast, and that's it. Bye. Hell yeah.
That was fun.
Good. That was fun.
I'm still
I
not
don't
a
get to do that very often.
whiskey fan.
You're
Huh?
still not a
I'm still
whiskey
not a
fan.
whiskey
That's
fan.
okay. Especially drinking it this way, huh? It's just straight. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I've been on a whiskey kick lately.
I'm gonna try to figure out how to do some Bigfoot hunting. Actually, I'm gonna start looking into reports of Bigfoot where we're going.
Great.